On behalf of the entire Raiders organization, we'd like to acknowledge the tragic shooting that took place on the UNLV campus Wednesday. 3 innocent people were senselessly killed and others were injured. The Raiders have a special partnership with UNLV, and 3 of our own production assistants right here on this show attend the university. We offer our condolences to the families of those lost and offer our support for the entire Rebel community. The Raiders are back home off the bye. Next up, the 6-6 Vikings. With just 5 games remaining, who will turn heads down the stretch? It's all next on the Silver and Black Show, starting now. There they are, everyone is well rested and ready to talk Raiders. NFL media reporter Stacey Dales, she's on the show today. She gives us a closer look at the Vikings. NFL analyst Brian Baldinger takes us inside the trenches. And Raider rookie quarterback Aidan O'Connell talks success, failure, and progress in his first season. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show, everyone. I'm Theoharis. The 5-7 Raiders come out of the bye with 5 games remaining. Much is on the line. Mathematically, the playoffs are still possible. 10 wins should be right on the bubble. Still, most simulators only give the Raiders a 2% chance. By the way, how about the AFC versus the NFC right now? In the NFC, 6-6 is good for the 4 seed, and 5-7 is right in the hunt. But we are where we are. And what happens over the next 5 games can set the tone for many years to come, regardless of a playoff run or not. It's about identifying foundational pieces. We look to the Texans and Jaguars and see how the right coach or right quarterback can instantaneously turn things around. Over these next 5 weeks, the biggest questions will be, will Antonio Pierce prove he should be the head coach? And is Aidan O'Connell a franchise quarterback? It's not a lot of time, but for those with this opportunity, it's a chance to solidify their role in the Raiders' future. And it all starts with the Vikings this Sunday. To talk about the matchup, let's say hello to Stacey Dales of NFL Media. Stacey, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hey, friend, it's great to be with you. I just noticed some flyaways in our Zoom. So
that's all right. We'll let you take care of those as I get into my first question. You're a vet. You can multitask. Hey, Stacey, I know you cover all 32 teams for NFL Media. What are your thoughts, just from a national perspective, of where the Raiders are right now and where they're heading in these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's a great question, Amber. You know, I actually had the Raiders back in, I forget what week it was. It was right around week 3 or 4. Actually, I had their schedule right in front of me. It was actually week 2. It's been a long year in Buffalo. And I had conversations then with Josh McDaniels and David Ziegler, and just there was so much excitement, right? Jimmy Garoppolo was expected to be going to be the difference maker for them, given his relationship with Josh. And you know what you're getting with some of those guys up front defensively, but it just didn't pan out that way. And obviously now Antonio's taken over and I think done an admirable job. I think nationally, the perspective on this Raiders group, Amber, is resiliency, despite obviously 2 losses in their last 2 games. They just had the bye, which I think if for any team in the NFL at this stage in the season is an incredibly advantageous thing. But you've seen a group come alive behind Antonio Pierce, and it's been really fun to watch from afar.
Yeah, now they take on the Vikings. I just mentioned the NFC, and the Vikings are one of those 6-6 teams that are in the hunt. The biggest storyline in this game is the expected return of Justin Jefferson. How does he match up with the Raiders secondary?
It's a great question. I think if you are this Minnesota team first, you have to figure out how you're going to take care of the football before you can even think about how you're going to get the football to Justin Jefferson, who's missed, roughly 7 weeks, I believe. I think what's remarkable about him, Amber, is, you know, before his injury in weeks 1 to 4, he was leading the National Football League in receiving yards. I mean, he was on just an absolute clip and was probably going to put up record numbers. And then Kirk Cousins a few weeks later gets hurt after we saw him, Jefferson go down, and now Josh Dobbs is the quarterback, and he leads the NFL with 14 fumbles, 7 of those lost. The Vikings on the whole lead the NFL in lost fumbles with 14. So it's a bad combination there when you're dropping the football and you want to get it to Justin Jefferson. So you got to deal with Max Crosby up front, who's played at an unbelievable clip himself this season. And yeah, the secondary, though, they're going to have to be in check. I mean, I got a stat for you, Amber.
Hit me.
Justin Jefferson, how about this? He needs, where do I have it? 117 receiving yards to set an all-time record for most receiving yards in a player's first 4 years in the NFL. If I'm the Raiders, don't let that happen on Sunday.
Exactly. And you mentioned all those turnovers, 7 turnovers just in the last 2 games for Minnesota. Is this an opportunity for the Raiders defense, who actually has been proven to be ball hawks this year, much more than last year?
I think it is. I mean, we just saw a Chicago Bears team beat the Minnesota Vikings a couple of weeks ago before their bye in week 12. And 4 interceptions Josh Dobbs threw against that Bears defense. Now, the Bears defensively have improved substantially. Right now, I think they're the #1 rush defense in football. They have 8 takeaways over their last 2 games, Amber. But if I'm the Raiders, you know what this league is, right? This is a copycat league. Look and see what Chicago did. Get some of that similar pressure against this Vikings team. And, Josh Dobbs has struggled, and we saw him play really well in his first game taking over for Kirk Cousins, but we have also seen him struggle turning the football over.
Yes, so look, he was a great story in the NFL. Like, comes over from Arizona, no Justin Jefferson, wins his first 2. Everybody talks about how great this is, but then he struggles. And how can the Raiders pass rush keep him off balance like the Bears did and even the Broncos did in their second to last game?
Well, yeah, I think you see a lot of movement up front with Chicago. So when you think about this defensive front with these Raiders, I mean, it's really good. And you have to account for Max Crosby. What has he got? 11.5 sacks this season, I think. And I mean, he has been outstanding. With what the Bears did and what they do, it's interesting. They're playing the Lions this week. I just got off the phone with Jahmyr Gibbs, rookie running back sensation for Detroit, and I asked him about the Bears defensive front, and there's just so much movement. And so you have to be, your offensive line, you've got to do a really good job, in terms of how you're approaching that type of a defense. And if I'm like I said, it's copycat league. If I'm these Raiders, pressure from different launch points, I think will be important. And I think it's something that we've seen them capable of doing here this season.
And Stacey, you cover the NFC North kind of primarily. You do a lot of NFC North games because you're based in Chicago. The Vikings, you remember 2021, they lost all those close games. And it seems like they're back to those ways of 2021, because the past 2 games, they were in the games and they lost them by a total of 3 points. What seems to be breaking down in those final minutes? I mean, for the Vikings, it's almost the defense that's been the strength of the team.
Well, the defense has been the strength, care of Brian Flores. And, I think when you lose Kirk Cousins, whatever you think about Kirk Cousins, I mean, the man can throw the football, and he's a really good football player. And they have a lot of weaponry offensively. I think the fumbles have hurt them. I think the turnovers have hurt them. And then the discontinuity at the quarterback position. I mean, Jarran Reed had a start before he was concussed a couple weeks ago. So they're still looking for some answers in Kevin O'Connell's now 2nd season, I believe. And yeah, I was at so many of those games last year where they won those close ones. And look at the New York Giants, Amber. I mean, they won a bunch of close games last season, and it hasn't gone that way for them this season. We have seen a rash of injuries to starting quarterbacks around the NFL. You see the effect that it has on your football team. One thing I've been really encouraged by with these Raiders is Aidan O'Connell. I mean, he had career highs despite a loss against Kansas City, right? In terms of his completion percentage, it was right around 70. It was awesome. And his passer rating, he was efficient. Passer rating is nothing more than quarterback efficiency. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in Purdue for a couple pro days a couple years ago before Aidan was drafted. And I was like, who is this guy? He can really spin the football. And in listening to Coach Pierce this week talk to the media, I mean, he said he's given us a chance to win games. And I think we saw that against Kansas City. So that should be super encouraging for Raiders fans. Yeah,
and if the Vikings defense has a weak link, I guess you could say it would be their pass defense. So do you think maybe this could be a chance for Aidan O'Connell? I mean, you brought up the accuracy, 70% completion percentage in his last game. That's not bad for a rookie going up against a Chiefs defense that was a really good defense.
Yeah, that Chiefs defense is no joke. I don't think it's going to be easy, though, this week against Brian Flores' group. They blitz more than anybody in the NFL. I mean, they're knocking on 50% blitz rate on quarterback dropbacks. It's right around 47, 48 this season. It's actually the highest clip, Amber, since the Ravens defense back in, where did I write that down? 2019.
Wow.
And, the Ravens, I mean, those guys are ballers defensively. They get after it. But to set the standard the way they have up front, Danielle Hunter could be in contention for the Defensive Player of the Year, the way that he's playing. I mean, it's not just the sacks. It's not just the sacks for Danielle Hunter because he's got 13 and a half of them. It's the tackles for loss. I mean, he has been a monster up front, and they are deploying pressure from all different places on the field. So Aidan O'Connell is going to have to, be on his P's and Q's, as players will tell us. And he's been really good with play action, but there's no team better at taking play action away than Brian Flores' defense with these Vikings. I think they're the most improved unit outside of Chicago in the NFL defensively this season.
Wow, that play action is a good point. Let's talk about the Raiders defense. The Raiders defense gave up some huge chunk plays to Travis Kelce. I know everybody does that, okay? It is Travis Kelce. Yeah. But still, TJ Hawkinson is having a great year. He's a strong tight end. Is he just as dangerous if the Raiders don't be careful with those chunk plays?
There's no question about it. And you have to anticipate they're going to try to get the ball out of Josh Dobbs' hands quickly, right? I mean, that's a quarterback's best friend when you're dealing with a pass rusher like Max Crosby. Not to diminish those other guys up front, but in terms of Jenkins and Nichols and Kuntz and Spillane's having a really good year at the linebacker position. But I just think you got to get the ball out quick when you're dealing with Max Crosby. He's a headache. Every team likes to think they have one, but when you have one like that and when you have one like Danielle Hunter, they're simply problems. So get the ball out quick if you are Minnesota. And like I said, if I'm the Raiders going into this game, I look at previous success and I sort of take on some of that. But I think, I heard from Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator this week, and he wants to be better in terms of situational football. We're talking, 2-minute drill, third down, red zone. And so I think that's been a big focal point this week for these Raiders because of what you alluded to. Situational football is so critical, and it will be in Vegas on Sunday.
We haven't talked about Josh Jacobs yet. Antonio Pierce came in and he said, look, I'm going to give my playmakers the ball. And he's done that. And last week, or 2 weeks ago before the bye, we saw Josh get 20 carries. He gives them 110 yards and a touchdown. Like when they give him the ball, he produces. But this is a top 7 run defense for the Vikings. Who has the edge in that matchup?
Well, like I said, I just have so much respect for what they're doing defensively in Minnesota. It was bad early. I mean, they were giving up a chunk of yards through the air, but they've really found their rhythm and their groove, if you will, here of late. I'm encouraged, though, when I see the way Josh is running the football. It wasn't good early. I mean, he leads the NFL in carries, Amber, which, if you know Antonio Pierce, he wants to run the football, right? With that dog mentality. But they're actually doing it. We're just seeing production now. And for 2 of your last 3 games, if you're Josh Jacobs to have 100 plus on the ground, that is super encouraging. And I hope they hand it off a whole bunch more. Davante Adams is playing well too, by the way. Nobody has more touchdowns through the air against the Minnesota Vikings historically than Davante Adams. So they better account for him this weekend.
Historically, like forever, ever going back? I mean, he was with the Packers forever, so it would make sense. And he's having a Hall of Fame kind of a career. So, hey, hopefully you'll have more of them this weekend.
Amber, 13 career receiving touchdowns against Minnesota, okay? Listen to this. Jerry Rice, Jordy Nelson, and Greg Jennings are all tied with 10 for the next most. That's the company we're talking about.
See, you have Stacey Dales on your show, and you're always going to learn something. Stacey Dales, thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to your family. I love the shout-out to your native land of Canada with the hockey in the background. Thanks so much. It's always good to see you, my friend.
Love you, Amber. Thanks for having me, Raiders.
You as well. Good to see you. Coming up, he was a 4th-round draft pick thrust into the Raiders' starting role. Rookie quarterback Aidan O'Connell stops by the Silver and Black Show next. The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. 1800, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders. Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Las Vegas Raiders and the NFL.
Fields, balls out. Sheldon Day is there. Metellus knocked it out. And that is a huge takeaway for this Vikings defense. Fields steps through. Will try to get it with his legs. Ball's out. Another Fields turnover. Metellus knocked this one out. And the Vikings have it.
I want to get a comment on Brian Flores. They're number one in the NFL in blitz rate. When you see that number, what does that mean, knowing this coach and what he likes to do?
Yeah, chaos. Obviously, He comes from the Belichick tree. He understands how to give you different looks. They're doing an outstanding job defensively. I mean, they're dialed in. You have to watch it several times to kind of figure out what they're doing, and they change it up very well. So it's going to be a big challenge for our offensive line, our quarterbacks, and our receivers to make adjustments.
For the full interview of Antonio Pierce with JT the Brick, visit Raiders.com or the official Raiders YouTube page. Welcome back. Aidan O'Connell was a fourth-round draft pick, and I'm sure when he was selected in the draft, wasn't really expecting to start 10 games in the NFL, but I'm sure you were prepared for anything, and thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
So some fourth-round picks, they never even get a chance to start their entire career in the NFL, and here you have a big opportunity in your rookie year. What has this entire experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been definitely crazy. A lot of ups and downs, and like you said, maybe not how I expected my rookie year to go, but it's been an awesome opportunity to get to play. Like you said, it's something that a lot of guys don't get to do, and it's something I've dreamed about my whole life, is to get to play. And so to get to start games in my first year, and just to have that opportunity has been really awesome. I'm super lucky.
You hear a lot of rookies talk about preparation and kind of finding that rhythm. Describe the process of figuring out your daily routine even, which is so different from college.
Yeah, I think that's been something that I've really enjoyed doing. It's been fun to know what works, know what doesn't, know what I need to watch when, and sometimes it feels like there's not enough hours in the week. But it's been fun to know when I have to wake up on each day, know when extra studying I have to do after practice, after meetings, before practice, before meetings, all those things. And so to find a routine that works for me has been, it's taken some adjusting, obviously, as I've been in different positions on the team. But I think I found a good routine, and just try to work as hard as possible each day, and wake up the next day, do the same.
We saw that preparation come to fruition against the Chiefs. You had your best game as a Raider, and most importantly, you protected the football, which is where we're really seeing progress. But by what barometer do you kind of assess yourself in your own progress?
Yeah, I think it's a team game, and so I want to win games. I want our team to win games, and if I never throw a touchdown and we win every single game, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. And so you try to find the balance of knowing that I need to play well, I need to take care of the ball, like you said, I need to do things, really do my job well for us to win. And so that's really all I try to do. I try to take it one play at a time and do the best I can.
I heard you on the radio earlier in the week, and you were speaking about that first start against the Chargers. And you admitted, it was a rough one. It was a rough first NFL start. But did you learn more in that start than almost in the wins that you've had?
I think so. I think especially because I got the start, and then I kind of got to go back to being third string and second string for a little bit. And so to get that experience, to get out there and kind of be, pushed into that spot, I think was definitely challenging, but good for me. And, I learned a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of times in football, the failures are really what you learn from. There's scar tissue that, plays come up, and that you've messed up on those plays before, and so you want to get it right. And so the first start was definitely a great experience. I wish it would have ended differently, but it was a good learning experience for me.
Yeah, that's life though, right?
Yeah.
Not just football. And this first year's been unique in the sense that you had to live through a regime change. Who has helped you the most in kind of transitioning, not only from college to the NFL, but navigating this unique year?
I think it's been a combination of people in-house and then obviously outside of here. I think here it's been great coaching by Bo, our assistant quarterback coach, Fred Walker. Helps me out a bunch, takes time with me. Obviously Brian and Jimmy both have a lot of experience, and so they've helped me and given me pointers, that have been huge for me. And then obviously outside with my family, my wife, and just a lot of people supporting me. So I definitely feel supported. I feel loved, and I think when you have that, you can have confidence to go out there and play well.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. You mentioned Bo Hardigree. We've heard from Davante Adams and Josh Jacobs that he's been very collaborative with them and coming up with a game plan. Is it a little bit different for you being a rookie? Because, they have a lot of years experience in the league. They know exactly what has worked in other situations. What has that been like for you?
Yeah, Bo has been awesome for me. He's, talks me through everything. Even when I first got here in OTAs, before we knew obviously all that would happen, we would talk about things that he likes, plays that he likes, what he thinks. And so he really taught me the offense to start with. And so to have him be there the whole time has been, comforting for me. The same guy that taught me the offense is continuing to teach me. And so he's been super receptive to what I have to say, and it's been great.
And also having Antonio Pierce now as your interim head coach, one of the very first things he did in that first press conference, and he was unwavering, Aidan is our guy going forward. What did that do for you and your confidence?
I think it was awesome. I think AP has been, since I got here, really an awesome voice. Obviously, loved watching him growing up. He's a great player. But, in the preseason, we'd have rookie meetings before the preseason games where AP and our receiver coach, EB, would run it and just talk about their experiences and talking about what playing in the NFL is like. And so even before I really had a relationship with AP, he was a guy who I looked up to and knew that, he loved the game, cared about the game, and obviously has had a lot of success.
Not only are you having success early as you're learning, Michael Mayer, your draft mate, is having success as well. We're kind of seeing you guys grow together. He described you on this show as somebody that just doesn't get rattled by mistakes. Like if you threw an interception, you got right back into it. Where does that demeanor come from?
I think it's from guys like Michael in my corner, the guys that I know believe in me and have supported me and are super vocal about their support and encouragement. And so the confidence I get is really from the guys around me. I love playing this game because it's a team sport. I don't think I would do well in individual sports. And so, like you said, guys like Michael and obviously all the other guys too have been super supportive, and that's really where, a lot of confidence comes from.
Do you ever look around and say, okay, all pro, Davante Adams, Josh Jacobs, Jacoby, I got a lot of weapons here.
Yeah.
How have they aided in your growth?
Yeah, I think they make me look good a lot, and they help me out and save my butt a lot. And so my job is just try to get the ball to them, let them do what they do. And, AP calls them our superheroes, and that's what they are. They're just unbelievable players really all around me. It takes all of us to get that done and to make those plays happen, but those guys are really special.
So 3 games in a row, you've had some tough defensive coordinators. You had Vic Fangio,
Yeah.
who's one of the great ones in the game, Steve Spagnuolo, and now you face Brian Flores, whose defensive front is different than a lot of things you'll see in the NFL. What are you expecting to see against the Vikings?
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure. He's done a great job in the past of bringing pressure, mixing looks up, and obviously, I'm a rookie. He's going to throw a bunch of stuff at me, and so, we're preparing for everything. I'm watching as much film as possible to be prepared, and I think the coaches have done a great job making a great game plan, and I'm just going to go out there and, like I said, one play at a time, lock in, try to do my job, and like we talked about, try to get the ball to those guys and let them be special.
Well, Aidan, congratulations on this opportunity that you've gotten. It's remarkable to be a 4th-round pick and do what you've done here early in your rookie season, and we look forward to the next 5 games.
Thank you very much.
Still to come, you know him from Baldy's Breakdowns. What does he think about the Raiders matchup this weekend with the Vikings? NFL Media's Brian Baldinger goes X's and O's with us next. Welcome back. We talk so much about quarterbacks and star position players, but NFL games are won and lost in the trenches. A man who knows that all too well is NFL media analyst Brian Baldinger, and he joins us now to talk a little Raiders, Vikings. What's up, Baldy? It's good to see you. I know you're at NFL Films right now.
I'm on my little bubble here, Amber. I'm up here on the 3rd floor at NFL Films. I got all my screens, all my games. And I'm still like, I mean, obviously there's a game tonight starting week 14, but this is where I spend most of my time during the week here, Amber.
I'll tell you, a lot of talented people in that building. And, you know, in this building, in the Raiders building, a lot of turmoil this season. Antonio Pierce, he stepped in halfway through the season to try and steady the ship. Just in general, how do you think he's done with this opportunity and rallying the troops so far?
I think he's done good. I think, you know, they made a switch at quarterback. They're going with the rookie. I think they've tightened things up defensively. Even, you know, obviously with the wins against the New York teams, but even against, you know, Miami and Kansas City, two really good teams, I thought they played much better defensively. And then I think they've figured out that Josh Jacobs is a really good player, and you got to feed him. And the more you give it to him, the better the chances are he's going to break one, and he has done that.
Yeah, it's a basic equation. I've been saying that all season long. Baldy, it's no secret. One of your favorite players in the National Football League is a Raider named Max Crosby. You're the one that nicknamed him the Condor, and he actually loves it with his long wingspan. We see him all the time on Baldy's Breakdowns. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen Baldy's Breakdowns, check it out on Brian Baldinger's social platforms. But Baldy, why don't you give us a live Baldy's Breakdown for the first time ever on the Silver and Black show of Max Crosby and what he does all so well?
Well, let's just go through some plays here, Amber. Here he is against the Miami Dolphins, which was a really close game. But here he is over the left tackle over here. And you can see, like right here, like he's just going to just basically affect this play where Tyreek's got the ball, but just the effort to get there and to let Tyreek feel his punch. Like the effort is from one side of the field to the other is always there. Like you can see it right here, like just fighting off the block. Like he just doesn't they just signed Austin Jackson to a big contract extension, but he couldn't block Max all day. And he gets Mostert down right there. You can see like even the legs is part of the Condor. Like the Condor leap right there, just taking down Raheem Mostert. You know, by the shirt, you just see his grip strength right there, just pulling a guy down that averages over 5 yards a carry. You can just, like, he's right side, he's left side, like, but it's every play. Like he's bitten, like he sees the play on the other side of the field, and here he comes. Like, I don't see anybody else from the other side of the field that's there. The effort, every single play, Amber, play to play. This is third down right here. On this play, he beats the tight end. Now he comes inside right here, and he puts this hit on Tua, and it affects the throw. He can't quite get it to him. Like, look, teams come up with these different plans to try to stop him. Like, some of the stuff is legal, Amber, and some of it really isn't. Like, that doesn't really look like it should be legal.
No.
But there's no flags coming out. He doesn't complain about it. Like, that's kind of what you got to do. You have to almost mug Matt Crosby in order to stop him. But, like, this is 3rd and 9. Like, you get to this play right here, you double back and you make that tackle. Like, that's like a turnover, Amber. Like, you get the ball back to the offense because of that effort. So, you know, there's just so many different ways that he affects the game that, you know, gets me excited, you know, when I get a chance to see him.
Yeah, and I know that other pass rushers like Von Miller have come up to you and said when they watch Baldy's breakdowns of Max Crosby that they're pretty impressed. They don't even realize just how good he is till they really see it slowed down the way that you put it. So check out Baldy's breakdowns. But now they're going up against the Vikings, right? And you got Christian Darrisaw and Dalton Risner and that offensive line. How do you like the matchup? You always talk about the trenches.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got Brian O'Neill at right tackle, Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, protecting Josh Dobbs. And I don't believe like both those guys are quality players. Believe me, they are. One's a 1st-round pick, the other's a 2nd-round pick, and they're good players. But I don't believe any one tackle in this league can stop Max Crosby. He's got too many moves, too many counter moves to what you're doing, and his recognition of what the play is so instant, run or pass. Like his ability to defeat anybody in the run game is unparalleled. And then the passing game, he's going to either spin, he's going to power rush you, he's going to figure it out. He already has a plan from studying it. And so Josh Dobbs is very athletic, a lot more athletic than people know, Amber. And so he'll start to move when he feels Max, you know, beating somebody, and he'll get on the move too. And then the chase will be on. He's had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. I believe he'll be really rested and really fresh. And if he's 100% healthy, which I think he is right now, I don't think he'll come off the field.
That's what he usually does 100% of the snaps when he's healthy. It wasn't just Max Crosby. Everybody thought Max Crosby was going to have a good season, but the Raiders' defense really wasn't expected to be as good as they have. I mean, they held the Dolphins to just 20 points. Where have you seen the most improvement on that side of the ball?
Well, I think as soon as they signed Marcus Epps, they got better on the back end. Amber, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he's given them like a real safety play. To go with, everything that they have right there, Trayvon Mooring right there is quality. But I think that, and then just up the middle, what Spillane and Diablo has done there at the inside linebacker position, like I think they've given them some stability there as well.
Yeah, Robert Spillane has really been a great free agent acquisition, or coming over from the Steelers there in the offseason. On the other side of the ball, this is a conundrum for everybody. And Stacey Dales talked about it earlier. She joined the show. Josh Jacobs, he leads the league in rushing attempts, right? So they're feeding him the ball, and we do see it becoming more productive. But why, in general, even when they have fed him at times, we're not seeing the production? Is that a product of the offensive line? I know at one point there was a stat that almost 25% of his runs ended in a tackle for loss or no gain. What do you assess?
It is a conundrum because it's primarily the same offensive line from a year ago, where he led the league in rushing. And generally what happens, Amber, when a guy goes from leading the league in rushing and he's the toast of the running back, fraternity, to where he's at 3.5 yards a carry this year and struggling, is you just don't see the long explosive runs. I know we saw one a couple weeks ago where he made a house call for 60-something yards, but we haven't seen many of those. And so that's what happens is you don't see the explosive runs like you saw last year. Like I could just remember the Denver game, in Las Vegas, where he had him. He had him throughout the season. And then there's too many negative runs. And, where, you're 1st and 10, next thing you know, it's 2nd and 13. There's been too many of that. And that's just a function of guys up front. I mean, Josh Jacobs isn't running the ball, and he's too good at making people miss to have negative runs. But there's been too many of them this year.
And he's got a rookie quarterback there, and Aidan O'Connell set to make his 6th NFL start. He had his highest rated game 2 weeks ago against, a very tough Chiefs defense. What's been your assessment of the 4th-round rookie so far?
I liked him in preseason a lot. He played a lot, obviously, in the preseason. Amber got a lot of snaps, and I liked the way that he saw the field. He's a self-made guy, obviously, started off at the bottom of the food chain at Purdue, worked his way up to being a legit 2-year starter. I think he's played a lot of football. It's just a question of eliminating some mistakes, but, part of making mistakes is part of being young and getting experience. Like he's just seeing things he's never seen before in the Big Ten. And so I think the more he gets to see it, I think he's made a concerted effort to get the ball to Devontae. But if the Devontae's not there, or it's got to go to someplace else, I think he's got to be more accurate with the ball, and he's got to make better decisions. And so it's just speeding up the process of finding the open guy. Because if you get 5 guys out, there's going to be somebody open. It's a question of how fast can you get to them, and can you see them when you do.
You say that he's seeing things he's never seen before. Brian Flores' scheme, he's used 6-man front zone coverage. What is Aidan up against with that Brian Flores? I mean, he already played Vic Fangio's defense, Steve Spagnuolo's defense, and now he gets Brian Flores for the 3rd week in a row. What is he going to see?
Well, you're right. I mean, that's a gauntlet for a quarterback. And Minnesota does things way different than what Kansas City did and what Miami does. They play a lot of blitz zero looks, and then sometimes they come, sometimes they don't come. And whatever you see pre-snap is generally not what they're in. Harrison Smith will be at the line of scrimmage, Amber, on Sunday. Next thing you know, at the snap of the ball, he'll be 15 yards, in the deep post, and they'll have a safety rotation with Cam Bynum or somebody. They do a lot. Josh Metellus, number 44, lines up all over the place. He's a chess piece. Daniil Hunter is a candidate to be the defensive player of the year right now. He's beating one-on-ones. He plays really, really hard. But it's the individual players, but then it's the scheme within what Brian's doing. And honestly, you don't know what they're doing until the ball is snapped.
You don't. And one quick question, though. You talk about zero blitz. Does that create an opportunity for Davante Adams if the rookie's able to get the ball off quickly?
You can. I mean, sometimes there's the old saying, Amber, that sometimes you get the bull, but sometimes the bull gets you when they play football like that. He's definitely going to do it. He did it throughout the early parts of the season. He's doing it less and less now. But you have to recognize it. You have to see it quickly, because if the corner is off on Davante, or the safety, or however they're going to try to defend him is off, like the throw's got to come quicker. And then Davante's got to be able to beat that, whoever's closing in on him. And so you got to have a good plan against it. And one of the reasons why they use it, and use it a lot, and he did it in Miami as well, is teams don't do very well against it. And it does lead to the quarterback speeding up the process and turnovers and incomplete passes. But if you anticipate it and you hit it the way Kansas City did against them early in the year, you can make them pay, and you could get some big plays.
You're right. I remember a Dolphins-Ravens game a couple years ago where, man, did they get the best of Lamar Jackson with exactly what you're talking about. All right, Brian, thanks so much for hanging out with us, Baldy, and I'll see you right here in Vegas for the Super Bowl. Cigars on me?
All right, Amber. I will count on it, Amber. We'll run into each other. We'll get together, catch up, tell some stories, and
maybe do yoga. Fun. Yeah, we do yoga to get our workout in. All right, thanks a lot, Baldy. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Coming up in one last thing, the Raiders superstars get their fill of attention, but this week it's the city they play in that's gaining global esteem. Why Vegas just might be Sportstown, USA. Next. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead. Time now for one last thing. The Raiders are a global brand. But this past week, it's become apparent Las Vegas is now a global brand as well. During a Super Bowl 58 host committee brunch this past week, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell referred to Vegas as Sportstown, USA, and the entertainment capital of the world. Listen in.
But I think it was a recognition of how this city has evolved, grown, flourished, how important it is the sports that you've heard from already today that have made such an impact on this community. You've really become Sportstown USA. You really have. And that vision was set out. That vision was clear. We wanted to be a part of it. And I think when that happened, everything seemed to change. And the stadium obviously is a key component of that. It's one of the reasons we struggled in Oakland, is being able to get a long-term stadium that would work for us. The great news is this is home for us now, so we're glad to be here.
Those comments carry weight, and it's worth noting the commissioner of the biggest, most powerful sports league in America acknowledges Vegas as a premier host city for not just Super Bowls to come, because he predicted that would happen too, but major international sporting events like F1 racing, which has already been here, and much more. Las Vegas has transcended its beginnings as a desert gambling destination. The Raiders' presence in this town has undeniably helped transform that image from a city who was banned from running Super Bowl ads a few years ago to hosting its own Super Bowl this February. And credit the Las Vegas Knights and the Las Vegas Aces for their role, making Sportstown USA Championship Town USA. Usually in this segment, we like to give flowers to the Raiders, but this week, it's our entire city that deserves a little love. That'll do it for us. It's Vikings Raiders this Sunday. Kickoff is set for 1:05 Pacific from Allegiant Stadium. We're going to see you right back here after the game for all your post-game action on Raiders Game Day. Have a great weekend, everyone.